Hi everybody and welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Rob Evans and I'm your weight loss coach, health strategist and internationally published author, helping take your life, your business, your health and wellness, your body, your fitness, your mindset from where you are to becoming absolutely unstoppable. And today I want to talk about a topic that some of you will not be able to relate to, but maybe there's some out there that will. And that is that Christmas can be a really, really tough time for some people. It can also be a horrible time. Now, yesterday I was talking about the stresses that come with Christmas, etc. But today, it can be stress of a different kind for some people because not everybody has got a family. Not everybody enjoys Christmas because of the feelings that are associated with Christmas. For instance, there are many people around the world that have lost a loved one on Christmas Day. There are many people this year that are maybe going through their first Christmas without that special person in their life. I know I've got a client that it's going to be a really tough Christmas for him this year because it's the first time that he'll be going through Christmas without his wife of 26 years. And so it's going to be really tough for him. And he's surrounded by his kids and stuff, but it's when you go back home, when you're left alone in those thoughts, that's when it can be really tough and emotional for people. So today I wanted to talk specifically about how do we help that mindset for those people that are going to do it really, really tough this Christmas. I mean, you might be homeless. You might be in hospital. There might be so many different things that could be happening to you that just make Christmas really tough for you. I mean, me personally, I feel blessed to be able to celebrate Christmas in the way that I do. My kids have to spend Christmas partly with me, partly with their mum and the mum side of the family. And so for the second part of the day, I will be by myself. And to me, that's okay. And I'm going to talk you through some of the strategies that I use. My year has been so busy. My weeks, probably the last 6 weeks leading up to this next week ahead, have been incredibly busy. I'm working 16-hour days. So the second part of Christmas Day, when most people go to their other side of their family or they're celebrating and that kind of stuff. So I'll be just celebrating in a different way. I'll be by myself. I'll be doing some things for myself that I'll talk about in a second. And that will still be fulfilling for me because I know how I've spent my time in the first part of the day with my kids and now what I'm doing to take some forced time out for myself. So when it comes to these special days and you are finding it tough, I think you know it's coming, especially Christmas, you know it's coming. And if there is something bad or sad that you associate with the Christmas period, then I think it's really critical that you plan to do something special for yourself. So we celebrate a lot around food, and like for me, what I'm putting on for the kids is, I'm not going to have turkey, but we're going to have some chicken, and I'm going to cook up some vegetables, like some roast vegetables and stuff, which I don't normally have, but I'm going to cook up some of those. Probably have some salads. We've got some plum pudding as well. So my heritage is from Cornwall in England. So my mum and her mum celebrated a traditional English style of Christmas feast with the plum pudding and the turkey and roast vegetables and all that kind of stuff. So we'll do that in I was going to say abbreviated. I can't think of the word, but a slightly altered way this year. Now I haven't done that this way before, but this year I thought, well, why don't we do it a little bit differently? So that's something special. I'll have a normal breakfast for me. The kids will probably sleep in a little bit, but last year we had a special breakfast together, but then they went to their mum's side of the family for lunch. So I wanted to make their breakfast special. This year they'll probably just have a normal breakfast and then we'll make lunch special, and they'll probably head off in if I took the kids out of the equation and I was going, so like my dinner, for instance, what am I going to do for dinner? Well, because I'm going to have a special lunch, my dinner will probably just be normal. But in the past, when I have had to have lunch by myself, then what I would do is I'd prepare something special for myself. So something that maybe you wouldn't normally have, something just a little bit special. It's a special day, and why don't you, celebrate with yourself around just something a little bit different. Just treat yourself. The other thing that I do is make sure that I do some exercise. So on a perfect Christmas Day scenario, what I would do is I would get up early in the morning. I would go for a walk, do a little bit of exercise out in, with nature, just enjoying that, and then come home, have a special breakfast, do all those things that I need to be doing. Now, this year, because as I just said, I'll be celebrating with the kids, but then in the afternoon, it'll be by myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the gym. Now, the gym that I go to when I'm not working out of my studio, it's a 24/7 gym. They don't shut on any day of the year unless it's COVID shutdown. So I'll go there and I'll do a nice relaxed workout. When I say nice relaxed, I mean it'll be a hard workout, but the pace of it will be relaxed because I don't have to go anywhere. I'll have a couple of days off, and so I'll just enjoy that. And then I'm sure by the time Friday comes around and Friday afternoon comes around, I'm going to be pretty tired. So I've got another really hectic week this week, really busy schedule. So I'll just enjoy taking some time out for myself. But if you're like me, you're celebrating part of it by yourself, then what I would suggest is the exercise is just so good for you. I mean, it just makes you feel good. Hopefully you haven't overeaten, but just doing something for yourself. I mean, I love my exercise. I really do. I don't want to be doing it constantly all the time, but I enjoy the opportunity to take some time out to, go and do some exercise for myself. So I won't be doing any cardio in the morning, but I'll be doing my strength training in the late afternoon. So I'll look forward to that. The other thing that I think is really important in these times is because we can associate Christmas, New Year's, all that kind of stuff with a whole range of different feelings about what have been your successes this year, what have you been the challenges, and globally we've all had a similar challenge with COVID. But I think the next question to be asking yourself is, what are the opportunities for growth and what can you learn and what are your plans for next year? Now, I know if you're listening to this, you will, you're an achiever. You're in the top 1% probably of your chosen profession or business, and you won't be doing a plan at the end of the year. I don't do one at the end of the year. I'm doing it throughout the year. But it might be an opportunity for you to be reflecting and say, well, okay, what do I need to adjust? Or just reflect on the plan that you've done and get excited about what it is that you've got ahead. And if you're thinking, well, hang on, this is Christmas, you should be having time off, you should be relaxing. Well, if you're driven by success like me, then I don't think it ever leaves your mind. And what I do is when I'm not with the kids, then I'm working on my mind. I'm working, but I'm thinking of ways to create a better version of myself. How do I become more successful? How do I help more people? And also, how do I help myself, my own body and health and everything, and stay fit and strong and healthy? Planning for the future. What can I do differently next year? What can I be learning from? Who can I be learning from? Do I want to get a different coach this year or another coach this year in a particular area? I mean, this year I've had a couple of different coaches and coaching sessions, and they've been all really worthwhile. I mean, I picked up a strength and conditioning coach this year, really, really powerful to help me get to where I wanted to get to this year. And we're resetting my goals for next year. And I'm actually going to type up like a one-page summary of what I want to achieve this year to send to my coach. I'm going to type it up tonight, even though it's Sunday. I'm going to do it tonight, and so I can send it off to him to let him know exactly what it is that I want, and then we're going to catch up, hopefully between Christmas and New Year, to talk through that in detail and map out a strategy. And so, of course, that makes me excited because I think about, well, what I've done this year, but I'd never like resting on my laurels. So it's like, okay, how do we go to that next step? And like with this show, the Mental Toughness and Body Show, like I love the people that I've been able to connect with this year. I love that commitment that I've made to record this every day for my listeners. And that makes it really powerful too. Because I said, I want to be able to do this every day. Because my coach, he does it every day. I'm actually doing it twice a day. I'm doing my Rob Evans 365 podcast. I'm also doing this one as well. I made that commitment to myself because I want to connect with more people faster. So I thought, okay, rather than do one a day, why don't I do two? And the content on this one, so it's a little bit different to what we do on the 365 one. And so, thinking about who are the new guests that I could be having on next year. I went through an exercise last week and wrote down, I think it was 20 names of the next 20 guests that I want to try and get onto the show. Now, some of them, they can't come until next year just to, commitments and that kind of stuff. Everybody's busy this time of the year. But they've committed to going on the show, so that's really nice. I know when I'm thinking about, that next step, what's going to happen next year, then that gets me excited because I think, man, look at how far I've come this year. Wow, what can happen next year? You could easily look on the other side and say, oh my God, look what's happened this year. Oh dear, I hope it's not like that next year. I say bring it on, because this year has been fantastic. From the outcomes in terms of my growth, the business, etc. If we get another year like that next year, boom, I say that would be amazing. So bring it on. Get excited about these things. Yes, it can be tough at Christmas. I get that. But I'll tell you when I changed my mindset. So about 8 years ago, coming up to 8 years, I was probably closer to 9 with you when I actually had the discussion. So in my marriage, I personally would say that I was working on it quite hard for 6.5 years to get it to work so that I could stay with the girl's mum forever. I mean, when you get married, I never thought I would get divorced ever. But things happen and things change, and I worked hard, but it didn't work. And so we still remain incredibly good friends, good role models for the kids, and we co-parent extremely well. She lives, it's a 5-minute walk from my place to her place, so it makes it really easy for the management of the kids and just life stuff. So it makes it really good. But when, obviously because we got divorced, realization that I'm all of a sudden only going to see my children for half the time. Now, they were young when we got split up. They're 13 and 15 now. So 8 years ago, 5 and 7. It's like, I don't get to kiss them goodnight every night. I don't get to tell them that I love them every night unless I tell them over the phone. I don't get to tuck them in, don't get to read them the stories, don't get to do all of those things that you want to. You don't get to have, play those fun games and crawl around on all fours like a horse on the floor with them riding on your back. You just don't get to do all those things. And so I used to beat myself up a bit about that. I think, man, that's so sad. And then there'd be weekends where we would alternate. I'd see them through the week, or so I have them actually just over, it's 53% of the time I have them, and then their mum has them the other time. And we alternate some weekends and so forth. So then on those weekends that I don't have them, I could sit around and I could feel quite sad about the fact that I don't get to see them, and I'd miss them a lot. And then I got to the point where I couldn't tell you the time, but maybe it was after a couple of months of this, I said to myself, what are you doing? One, you made the decision to leave, so suck it up. You made the choice. You could still be there and you could still be spending the time with the kids if you wanted to, but you didn't. You decided that this was a better path for you, and I certainly have no regrets about that now, and I didn't at the time, but I was beating myself up that I don't get to see my children. I said, so you could keep beating yourself up, or what you could do is focus on the time that you do have with them, be more present, connect with them, have that fun, and on the time that they're not, see that as an opportunity to grow yourself and move the business forward and do those things that you couldn't do because the kids are there, because you've got to be watching them, doing things with them. Because when they're 5 and 7, it's very different from when they're 13 and 15. So like right now, they're out in the kitchen, they're doing some cooking. It's like, can't let them do that unsupervised when they're 5 and 7. So that's what I did. So it was just a slight shift in my mindset. So then I started to look forward to those weekends when I knew the kids were going to their mum. They were going to have a good time there. And I got to then work on me and work on the business and work on growing those things. And that's how I got to write my book. I wouldn't have been doing that if I had all the distraction of the kids and everything at the time. So it was just a slight mind shift. So come back to the Christmas time, I look at this and say, okay, well, yeah, I spend the first part of the day with the kids and then they're with their mum. I'm going to focus on the time that I have with them, really celebrating, having a great time with them. And then in that latter part of the day, I just shift my mindset to say, okay, now I'm going to enjoy celebrating with myself. And I'm going to go and do an amazing workout. I'm going to take some time out for myself. Maybe I'll do some planning. Maybe I'll think about what it is that I've got planned for the next year. Start reading a new book. I bought myself some books for Christmas. I'll tell you about those another time. But I've got a book on Disney and the behind the scenes and the learnings from the Disney brand, and I want to start reading that. So I love everything to do with Disneyland, and so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm looking forward to that. I could feel sorry for myself and say, oh well, I don't get to do this or this, but I'm focusing on the fact that this is what I do get a chance to do. And so for me, it's going to be a fantastic time. But I get that it can be really tough. I think if you can just change that thinking and think about the positive side. Now, let's say that you've lost someone, and I know this is really hard. I mean, I've lost many people in my life. If I'm talking about somebody that's passed away. And again, okay, here's another good example. So my mum, she loved Christmas. And I wouldn't love Christmas as much if it wasn't for my mum. And she went to so much trouble, and like I was saying yesterday, that it got to the point where it was so stressful. But my eldest daughter, she's having some friends stay over tomorrow. Four girls are going to come and stay over with my 2 girls. And I was cleaning up the spare room where they're going to be staying, and I found this bag just sitting. It's a room we don't normally go into, so it was sitting in another box. I thought, oh, what's in that? I opened it up, and it was some really precious Christmas decorations that I'd forgot were even there. And in it, Mum had made up this like really beautiful frame, a gold frame, to hang on the Christmas tree, and it had a picture of my grandparents, so the kids' great-great-grandparents, my dad's mum and dad. And then there was another little frame which was a picture of Mum, about, oh gosh, how old? Maybe about 9, 10, 11, something like that. And she looks just like Shirley Temple. So imagine that look, black and white photos. And then there was about three other really elegant, Mum would have paid a lot of money for them, Christmas decorations. And I thought, wow, do you know what? I'm going to hang those on the tree because Mum had made them to hang on the tree, and they just made me me think of Mum about Christmas, and I think it's important that, you know, she's hanging on my tree. Now, I could be very sad about the fact that she's not here to see the kids, you know, growing up and doing so well at life, and being able to spend those times as a grandma doing those grandma things, because I think it's really quite sad. I mean, she passed away at age 66. The kids were still so young, and Mum was so giving, and she would have had such an amazing influence in their life and on their life. And it's sad to me that she has gone. But rather than get lost in that, I think, well, I have an opportunity for all those beautiful gifts that Mum used to give to come through me to give to them. And that is, you know, the tradition of setting up our Christmas tree, getting them to understand, whether they're listening or not's another thing, but getting them to understand the importance of certain decorations that we put on the tree. And we always put on these couple of really scungy looking ones, old beaten up ones, because they're the first ones that I remember going on our Christmas tree. And so I always put them on the tree as a reminder of my childhood. And so, you know, you create new traditions, you relive the old traditions, and just like with my dad, I think, well, he's been gone a couple of years too, and how much he used to love Christmas. But I can think about all the great times that we had together and pull out some old, you know, DVDs or even videos of the times that we used to spend together at Christmas, where I've got some footage of doing all that together and having some laughs and some good times, because it can be a beautiful time of the year, and I know it can also be really tough for people. But when you focus on the goodness that comes from Christmas, focus on the good in the bad and the learning and the growth in what may be a tough time for you, you can find something really quite beautiful. And maybe it's an opportunity to find something that you've never found before because you've never thought to look. But no matter how devastating something is that's happened in your life, there's always some good that's in there. Things are happening for a reason, and even though they may not make sense in those moments that they've happened, they have happened to you for a reason. And maybe that's to create a greater version of yourself, a stronger, more loving, healthier, fitter, wiser, more giving, more connecting person. Look at what happened to Ebenezer. Is that what his name? Ebenezer? Is that his name? Scrooge. Let's just call him Scrooge. He was presented with his Christmas past and future and present, and he decided to make a change as a result of seeing that. So maybe this is your opportunity to see how you could start living at a higher level, a better level. Take some time out for yourself this Christmas. Celebrate in your way. But no matter how busy it is, still take some time out for yourself and plan for what you're going to do next year. Start thinking about those things. Do some exercise, because that'll make you feel good. If this is a sad time for you, let's make it the first time that you're not sad, because you don't have to be. That's a choice that you make. And if that sounds harsh for you, I'm sorry, but it is your choice. And just like me with the kids, and choosing to be sad every time I wasn't with them, I just changed where my mindset was there to know that I can really have a great time without the kids and just love the time that I'm with them, but still have a great time without them. Because guess what? One day they'll move out and that'll just be me. So I've got to learn to be able to have a really fulfilling life without them. And I do. I really do. I love my life. So stay safe wherever you are. If it is a tough time for you, start planning as to how you can make this your best Christmas ever. Maybe it's hanging out with some friends. Whatever does it for you, but take some time out for yourself. It's a really important time. Make this your best year ever. See you tomorrow.